Is there anything better than a fresh strawberry? They grow great here in Ohio. We're talking strawberries on Extension Today.
Extension Today is sponsored by the Ohio State University College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences.
So strawberries make an excellent home fruit planting because you can plant them in multiple different methods. There's basically three main types of strawberries that we grow here in Ohio. We have June-bearing strawberries, and then we have day-neutral or ever-bearing strawberries, and we kind of lump those last two together. When we plant June-bearing strawberries, I highly recommend that you plant them in a raised bed. Site selection is critical. Strawberries are going to go to their highest production in full sun, and they like good drainage, but they don't like being dry and they don't like being wet. Strawberries like their soil mildly acidic, and here in Franklin County, we would plant strawberries in raised beds because our parent soils are going to be really alkaline. When we plant our strawberries in a raised bed, besides full sun, we want to address the fertility with a soil test, and we want to make sure we plant into a bed that has no weeds at all. For June-bearing strawberries, I like to plant them in a row right down the middle of the raised bed with the plants about 12 inches apart. I'm going to pull the flowers off each plant, but allow the runners to take root, establishing a patch in the first year about 2 feet wide, but taking no harvest in the first year. Come next year, I'm going to have a massive harvest of big, beautiful, delicious strawberries for about 4 to 6 weeks starting in June. For our ever-bearing or day-neutral varieties, they can be planted a lot closer spaced. Those varieties do great in a container or even in a hanging basket. I'm going to plant them probably about 6 inches apart. I'm going to pick the flowers off for about the first month or so. We want the plant to spend all of its energy making a huge, vibrant, and dynamic, strong root system, which will allow for a huge harvest. For our June-bearing, that harvest comes in year 2. For our ever-bearing or day-neutral, pick the flowers off until about June or July, and then in year 1, you're gonna get a harvest starting at that point, lasting all the way till frost, and then you'll get a nice harvest in the next years 2, 3, maybe 4. Understanding the parts of a strawberry plant is important so that you plant them correctly. The most important part to identify is the crown. The crown is the part that joins the strawberry roots with the leaves and the flowers. You want to plant the strawberry plant so that about half of the crown is buried, but you don't want to plant it too deep or too shallow because that plant might not be able to establish itself correctly. We generally revitalize or replace a strawberry bed every 3 years. An aging strawberry bed is going to give you decreased production and an increased risk of fungal disease. Make sure you pick varieties that are known to grow well in Ohio and have good resistance to fungal disease. That gives you the best chance of a heavy harvest. Strawberries, like any other perennial, requires maintenance for you to maximize your production. The adage is, this year's harvest was last year's maintenance. Next year's harvest is this year's maintenance. For June-bearing strawberries, the revitalization starts right after harvest. I recommend that you mow high. You don't want to damage the crown of the plant, and then you thin plants out to the strongest plants about every 6 inches. And then at the end of the season, you want to make sure you've provided enough fertility. And what I like to do is I like to cover my strawberries with about 4 to 6 inches of mulch. That protects the crown of the plant from both frost damage and frost heaving that can occur over winter. Make sure next spring when it starts to warm up, you move that straw out of the way to allow your strawberries to start growth to get ready for next year's harvest. For more information on how you can get your own home strawberry patch started, head to go.osu.edu/extension today.
Extension Today is sponsored by the Ohio State University College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences.